E3, the video game person's figurative heaven. Well, that's how most people see it. Not counting the near 70,000 attendees this year. Whew, that's a lot of spagolies. Anyways, I'm going to sort of sum up my trip over there and answer some questions those of you on Twitter and Facebook had for me regarding my E3 experience. So let's not waste any time and cut right into this. First of all, and this is going to sound super cliche, but I just loved the weather over there. Seriously, guys, it's 75 degrees all the time, drops into the 60s sometimes at night, but all year round, it's in the 70s. I don't give two craps about winter. I would just be happy knowing that I'm not going to walk out of my house drenched in sweat the moment I step outside. Besides that, prior to E3, I got my badge, which was an adventure in and of itself. Rather than telling me exactly where the media badge pickup was, I was given a series of checkpoints. So, person A tells me to go to point B, where they tell me that I needed to go through security and talk to C. C tells me to go down to the hall to D, where D directs me to this big room. Then I meet E. E tells me the badge pickup is behind them through this serpentine of velvet ropes, where, and I'm not even kidding, guys, this actually happened. There was an old Russian-looking woman. She sounded Russian. It was at the end of the hall, and she goes, "The journey is in the experience." Now, for reference, I probably walked a quarter of a mile during this whole thing. Probably. I could be overestimating it. Then we, that is my friend and I, went to check out the cool Fallout 76 triptych. That was pretty cool. Afterwards, we went to the famous Santa Monica Beach, got on the pier, walked around Muscle Beach, and then we went back home. The following day, we had some Korean barbecue with Matthew Patrick, hung out with him for a while as he drove us around downtown LA, had one of those good old-fashioned long goodbye chats in the car before we left, and we took a selfie to remember the good times that we had. Ignore the ghetto behind us, guys. LA is weird. If you've never been there before, it could be beautiful streets on one, and then you turn over, and then there's literally ghetto on the other side. It's the strangest thing. So, that leads us to E3, where I will start answering your questions. So let's get cracking. First of all, on Twitter, we have @ZeroScore who asks, what is the atmosphere like at E3 now that it's open to the public? Does it feel like a regular convention, or is it still E3 but more crowded? Well, ZeroScore, it's an interesting creature for sure. It feels like E3, or at least how you'd imagine it, but with the addition of being completely swamped shoulder to shoulder with everyone and their mothers. And yes, I'm not just saying that for the sake of saying it. I actually saw plenty of kids there with their mothers. And I can say that it definitely lacks a certain something. It's kind of hard to pinpoint, and the only thing that I can think of, and not to sound arrogant or anything like that, but I think it's missing exclusivity. It's an event that was once held for the few, and now it's open to anyone with a pocketbook that's deep enough. I think that fundamentally changes the event. Now, don't misunderstand me. My best friend was able to attend E3 because he could buy a ticket into it, so I am grateful, but for as exciting as the experience was, it definitely had this was better a few years ago air to it. And I had other content creators and other bigger people that sort of agreed with that sentiment. So thank you for your question. Next on Twitter, we have @RewindMike who asked, some of the smaller games that aren't being talked about, the little indie titles packed in the corner out of sight. Tell me about those. Well, Rewind Mike, that's an excellent question. While I was checking out the Indiecade booth, I got a close look at some of their hidden gems. There's this game called Chicken, which is CHKN, where you essentially just create an abomination to roam about this sandbox environment in what is probably the most ridiculous ultimate survival of the fittest experience that you can find. It's basically the creature creator from Spore, but using modular blocks. The creature creator looked pretty in-depth, and the combinations seemed what I would consider endless. Another one that I looked at was Drums of War. I didn't really get hands-on with this, but I did take a look at it. It seemed like a pretty good idea. You use motion controls to hit drums, and those drums shoot projectiles, and you blow stuff up. Pretty nifty use of motion controls, and an interesting concept overall. The last one that I'll talk about here is Starbear Boats, which is essentially just Wave Racer 64 meets Tony Hawk. You're on this beach, you're on a jet ski, you're doing tricks, you get points for the tricks. Style is awesome, the aesthetic is beautiful, the controls, they felt good, and it was just one of those good old-fashioned fun games. Next, we have @StephenWilds who asked, most creative booth? To which I must respond, as much as I would like to say it was something different because of just how big this is. It had to have been Bethesda's Fallout 76 area. They had a Vault Tech trailer with actors dressed up in the whole 1930s attire and everything. One of my favorite things about the way that they behaved was they actually acted like NPCs. For example, like I was walking around, they read your name badge, and as I'm walking through, this guy was like, Alan, hey, buddy, you gonna be here for training tomorrow? And like, I was like, whoa, what's going on? Who is this guy? How does he know my name? I forgot I had a name tag on. So they would all do that. And the best part about it is like they would interrupt each other, like overlap each other. The same way that NPCs in Fallout games sometimes do, where one's talking to you and then another one will come up, and whenever the other one starts talking, the other one just sort of walks away. Like they go stoic in the face and just walk away. They were really, really well done. The place looked super cool. It looked exactly like a scene from Fallout, just like those trailers that you would see, the Vault-Tec ones. The actors did a phenomenal job. They stayed the character. Even whenever we asked questions regarding like how to get into the booth and things like that, they still stayed in character, referring to everyone as vault dwellers or residents. And it was just really cool. I had to say that was probably the coolest one. They also had this cool arrangement of the different things, and I've been kind of showing you those pictures as I'm talking about this. But they had a cool prop setup. They had this awesome mirror effect with the power helmets. Those were really cool. It was just really neat, and just a lot of effort put into it and a lot of heart. And it was really cool. All right, there's a handful of people that did not want to have their names mentioned here. And as for you Twitter people, no, I did not ask you, but your names are public. So if you care, just know that I don't really care because it's public, so take it up with Twitter. Anonymous asks 2 questions. 1, your opinion on what will be the new IP to come out of this year's E3. What is the best one? Personally, there were so many IPs, guys, and the one that really caught my eye the most was Fortnite. It's a super cool new concept. It's called Battle Royale, but the thing is you get to build things while it's a joke, guys. I'm clearly joking, okay? Come on. The actual answer to your question is that there were just too many freaking games for me to remember them all, but one thing that I could remember off the top of my head that I did have fun with was Code Vein. It combines the charm of anime with a feel of a Souls title mixed in with some over-the-top weaponry and a no doubt convoluted JRPG menu system that is just waiting to be explored. I think it's cool because it hits 2 niche markets, anime and the hardcore. I play it for the difficulty kind of player. That being said, I only played the demo, but from what I got, it felt pretty freaking good. The other question that he had was, when will Battle Royale die, or how do we kill it? And to that, I have to say it's a loaded answer, man, but I'm sure you knew that asking. That's probably a joke question. I guess if we're gonna TLDR this thing, if it makes money, it's trending, everyone's cashing in on it. When people stop buying it, they stop producing, but you know that. Got another anonymous person asking me, what is the main difference between the media and normal passes? Did you get to skip the lines to play anything? Did you touch anyone famous? Did the hotel you stay at have free breakfast? Approximately what percentage of all the show floor did you get to see? Now that is a lot of questions, so I'm going to do my best to rapid fire some of these answers. 1, the main difference between the passes is that media is able to get in 3 hours prior to the Gamers Pass holders. We also had a room where there were refreshments and beanbag chairs and things like that, but I went in once, got bored, and left, never came back. Your second question, I did not get to skip lines, although since the regular crowd wasn't there, I guess I technically cut in front of them, so there's that. Number 3, I touched Reggie of Nintendo in the bathroom. No, guys, not like that. We brushed shoulders on the way out. It was kind of weird how casual it was because I was washing my hands and I was walking out the door and I bumped into this guy and I was just kind of like, man, that guy was a big guy. My friend who was with me, he was kind of waiting for me to come out of the bathroom. I was like, man, how tall is Reggie? And he's like, yeah, I don't know. We found out about 6'4", and I was like, man, that guy was really, my head was like where his shoulder was. I think that was Reggie. So we actually just kind of camped out in front of the bathroom on a bench waiting for him to come out. And sure enough, I brushed shoulders with Reggie in the bathroom. That's a fun story. Number 4, I booked a place using Airbnb. So no, it did not come with breakfast, but we did have IHOP and we sure did enjoy some pancakes. Number 5, I am pretty sure I saw about 90% of what E3 had to offer. There were some executive areas and meeting rooms that I couldn't get into, but besides Nintendo's executive area, they barely took up any space. Nintendo had a big chunk of behind the big Nintendo sign that you guys have been seeing. That was all dedicated to executives and things like that. The last question, and one I saved for last, actually comes back to Twitter from Matthew Matson, who asks, how nice was it hanging out inside the conference center as opposed to having to wait 3 hours outside? And to that I say, it was a hell of a lot better than standing outside. I'm kidding though. I actually felt pretty bad about that. Next year, I'm going to try to work on something for you. I promise. Doesn't mean that it'll work out, but I'll do my best. And yeah, guys, with that being said, that concludes my Q&A on E3 2018. If you have any other questions you'd like to ask, feel free to drop them down in the comment sections here below, and I'll do my best to take care of them. Look forward to my collab with Brazzle next month sometime, and shortly afterwards, a new gaming deconstructed on God of War, as voted by my Patreon supporters. One last thing before I go, guys. guys, next year I will do a better job recording things at E3 and having more of a structured system to this type of thing. This year I really wanted to absorb the whole experience. I didn't want to make it into work, and as much as it seems like a little bit of effort to hold a phone in front of you and record what's going on, it's still, you're conscious of it. You're not taking it all in. It's work, okay? And I also have to be conscious of, you know, what am I recording? Where am I at? How am I going to use this? Things like that. So yeah, next year look forward to a more structured, better video format to this type of thing. Actually, I hope to be able to do more of this kind of thing in the future because I enjoyed answering your questions. So that's it. Take it easy, everyone. Thanks for sticking it through.